Welcome to the PropTech Pulse podcast, your inside look at the world of real estate technology. I'm your host, Kyle Hunter, here to guide you through the latest trends, expert insights, and game-changing tech shaping the real estate world. This is your go-to source for staying ahead of the ever-evolving industry. Let's dive in. Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining PropTech Pulse. Very happy today to have a couple folks from Reach. Many of you know industry veterans, Dave Garland, Tyler Thompson, and they're going to talk to us a little bit about the Reach program and how other companies are getting involved and what they're seeing in the industry as it relates to PropTech. So I don't know who wants to start. Dave, you want to kick us off?
Yeah, appreciate the time here, Kyle, and glad to be on the show. And long time fan of everything that you've been working on over the years, as well as the Lone Wolf team. As a matter of fact, one of my original mentors in the space was the founder of Lone Wolf, Lauren Wallace. Just a terrific human being, and he was in PropTech 20 years before the word PropTech ever became a thing. So it's great to be here. Thank you.
Yeah, and I'd love to dive in to really understand more about what you guys look for in Reach and the types of companies you're introducing. But Tyler, tell us a little bit about how you got into this space.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm a lifelong entrepreneur. I've always been in real estate in some way, shape, or form. I've had tech companies in fintech and ad tech, et cetera. Actually, the way that I was introduced to Dave and to the Reach program and to Second Century Ventures is I took my last startup through Reach in 2014, which was the second class ever. Obviously, it left such an impact on me that when we sold that company that I came over and joined forces. And honestly, what's taken place since then in terms of the growth of the vision, our coverage globally, et cetera, has been incredibly exciting. But, there's this old Hair Club for Men ad that says, I'm not just the president, I'm a user, I'm a member. That was me. So certainly Reach left an impact and an impression on me that was good enough for me to come back and to try to make it better. So.
Yeah, and I know Lone Wolf. Obviously, I think we've brought in a few of your previous Reach class members and companies into the fold, and it's a great program. And the way that you guys have really grown that beyond the borders and outside of the U.S., I think has been amazing. And seeing just all of the different companies that come along. Maybe tell us a little bit about the history of Reach and then, take us to where you're at today.
Sure. Yeah, I think that it probably makes sense to start from the beginning. And Second Century Ventures is the strategic investment arm of the National Association of Realtors, founded in 2008. And SCV was really established at that time to drive innovation and empower entrepreneurs to revolutionize an industry that's often resistant to change. And so, the stated mission is to define and to deliver the future of the world's largest industry by serving as a catalyst to emerging technologies, new opportunities, and top talent, et cetera. So, the launch at the time of SCV was a strategic decision by NAR leadership, sort of reflecting its community or commitment to community and putting members of that community ahead of the real estate tech trends. And so really our primary mission has been, to be that strategic benefit for this community and ensuring that the community is always on the forefront of new technology and is always equipped with the best tools to serve the consumer. And to date, we've made a lot of investments. I mean, we have investments in over 385 companies around the globe, but by far our best investment has been in Reach. And Reach is really the real estate industry's premier startup accelerator and scale-up program, globally recognized and launched in 2013. And really the intent of that is to bring some of the best technologies into the ecosystem to meet the members where they are, to meet the needs of the practitioner at scale. And so that includes technology in the prop tech sector, in the age tech sector, in the insurance tech, in fintech, et cetera. So, if we can find those collective challenges practitioners share both domestically and globally, then we can meet those challenges with really impressive innovations.
Yeah, Kyle, the early mission of Reach was to be more proactive in our approach to technology and not reactive. Certainly back kind of 2012, 2013, you remember those times. And, we go in waves of fear of disruption. And the fact is, what Dave and I truly believe is that realtors and practitioners will always be to the center of the transaction, right? That doesn't mean that they can be complacent, that they don't have to change. Technology is the tool that helps you perform better, but we do believe that we win with people. And so the idea was, let's find the best technologies, initially in the United States and residentially focused, and let's make sure that they're our allies as they build, as they grow, they keep realtors in mind, et cetera. And we really built a formula around that of kind of building community around those companies. And so really any stakeholder that's important to their success and survival. So that's practitioners, that's developers, investors, technologists, it's other big tech companies like yours, et cetera. That's, the early relationship with Lone Wolf came into play. And we felt like we built such a great formula for that, for success and making sure those companies are successful during the program and beyond, and they become part of that community, that we started to look beyond that. And can we replicate that formula in other asset classes or other geographies? And so that was really kind of the beginning of the conversation that Dave and I had, along with our other partner, Mark Birschbach, who's a senior vice president at NAR. And it made sense. And so really our first step after that, Kyle, was we started looking at the commercial space and commercially focused technologies, which is a totally different world from what we've got on the residential side. So that opened up a bunch of opportunity for us. And then we started to kind of see some interesting global opportunities, groups that were coming to the US. And we thought, why don't we go to them first, right? Let's find them even earlier in the process and maybe build the same types of communities in these other geographies. And I think that what Dave and I found is that even though I think we do a number of things really well in the US in terms of the way that we transact real estate, we kind of operate with blinders on as well, right? There's one way to do it. This is the right way. And I think it was refreshing for us to see how other people operated and start to bring in some of those ideas. And, the market has been incredibly receptive. Those companies have actually done incredibly well in their own geographies as well. But, I'd say maybe 5 to 10% of those kind of bubble up to the top and have an application that, that applies to the US market.
Yeah, I mean, it's really cool when you're out and about and in a position like I am, and when you're attending events and you're talking to these different tech companies, how many of them just feel that sense of community as you related to, where they say, oh yeah, I was reach of this class or reach of that class, or, you went through part of the program or applied to the program and still, were someone who got traction and really had that desire to find a group of like-minded folks that are looking to solve problems specific to the industry. And I think the other piece is that you've always kept the broker and agent, obviously coming from NAR, kept the broker and agent center as far as that's, what you're looking for specifically in the resi space. And then being able to take that model, really cool, not just to other ancillary or outside of residential, but other places. In fact, I mean, I think you guys are launching somewhere new right now, right? I mean, you guys were I know you're in Europe and Middle East, yeah, maybe tell us about what you're working on right now.
Yeah, where are we
in
right
Mexico
now,
City right now. Mexico City,
Yeah.
we just kicked off our 4th cohort for Reach Latin America, and we have some exciting new partnerships that we'll be announcing in the next couple of weeks as well, with organizations that essentially are an expansion of our community. And that's core to our thesis right now, which we believe that relationships are always going to power this industry, no matter what technological innovation you're going to throw at it. Real estate has historically and will continue to be a belly-to-belly business, and especially when you get into other regions around the world, you really see that happening at scale. So if we believe that relationships power the industry, we also believe that relationships are inspired by good communities. And so essentially, if you were to distill down what we do best at Second Century Ventures is we're community builders. And so we're building this community of practitioners, owners, operators, brokers, developers, governments, and we seek to understand the core constraints of all of those respective practitioners within the community, right? And those constraints are oftentimes shared challenges, inefficiencies, friction points, whether the friction point be within the transaction, whether it be post-transaction with asset enhancement, whether it be the insurability of an asset, the affordability of an asset. And that's where you get that crossover effect into other industries. And the fact of the matter is real estate's the biggest industry in the world. There's no industry that is not touched by the real estate ecosystem, which means there's no human on earth that's not touched by real estate. So, looked at it from that perspective, it's extraordinarily important for us to, find those common challenges across the board, and then go out and find the best solutions that meet those challenges, where they need to be. And when you look at all of the areas in the world where we operate, like for instance in Latin America, the challenges that we find here, whether it be in Mexico, whether it be in Brazil, Colombia, oftentimes those challenges are the same type of challenges that we have in the United States, North America, or Europe. And the idea is the best technologies and the best ideas, they don't care about borders, because if they solve that core challenge, then we can bring them from one market to the next. And from an investor standpoint, that's essentially growing an addressable market for the benefits of the organization in which we invest, on one hand. On the other side of the equation, and getting back to the community building aspect, is that if you have a good community that's hungry for innovation, hungry to solve their problems, what you also have is a phenomenal distribution opportunity. And distribution, we believe, is going to be a core differentiator, a core moat for emerging technologies in the next couple of years, especially in an age where you can create technology at scale much quicker than ever before. So distribution becomes that competitive advantage. And so every single one of these communities that we have writ large becomes a solid distribution channel, provided that the technologies in which we invest can solve those problems. And so we're active in these regions, meeting these brilliant entrepreneurs that are really taking a chance and solving big problems in respective communities. And really what Tyler and I try to look out for is, okay, what can we bring from one geography to the next to help solve problems, both domestically, globally, et cetera. And the Reach Latam crew, we just made investment in 7 additional companies that we'll be announcing next week. And I think that when practitioners look at that, I think that they'll find at least 2 or 3 companies that they can say, wow, that if I applied that to my day-to-day operations, that would really be beneficial to me, or I should try that. And that's really what we're looking to try to achieve, whether it be in Latin America, North America, the Middle East, Southeast Asia, et cetera.
Enjoying the PropTech Pulse podcast? Don't miss a beat. Hit the subscribe button and stay in the loop with all of our latest episodes. And hey, if you're loving the content, leave us a review. It really helps us grow and reach more real estate pros like you. Also, don't forget to follow us on our social channels. We're sharing tips, trends, and behind-the-scenes content you won't want to miss. Find us on all the social platforms at GetElwolf.
So, Tyler, you guys get a lot of applications, I'm sure. And I've heard that, there's a lot of companies that get in and don't make it. What do you look for when you are, when these companies are applying? What are the types of value sets that make you say, you know what, that is someone who meets our criterion for entering into this program? And obviously it's a limited group, so you have to go through that selection process. But listeners would love to hear, what goes into that.
Well, I'd love to say that it's formulaic. Right, you plug in a few things and it spits out an answer, but the fact is that it's probably more madness than method. We've done this a number of times, Dave. What are we, the 47th cohort, 48th cohort now globally? So we assess thousands of companies every year. We get well over 1,000 applications globally a year. We distill that down to short lists for each region, and then there's further scrutiny and interviews and a number of things that go into that. We take into account what all of these stakeholders say is missing in the industry. So sometimes it's thematic. We're looking for certain types of solutions, but other times you find exceptional founders that have a different perspective about, how to support practitioners, et cetera. And so really you kind of boil it down to maybe 20 companies per region that we really like. And then you start to say, how does this cohort look, right, when you put these founders together? Because it's equally important in terms of how they get along and how they work together as it is in terms of how we're going to be working with them. And so there's a lot of thought that goes into the way that we make up a class and who's participating in a certain year. Timing is important for companies as well, right? Where are you in terms of your life cycle? Are you ready to take on a bunch of new business and a bunch of interest? We have companies that have applied 2 or 3 times before they get into Reach. And they always come back and say, we're grateful that you didn't accept us 2 years ago because we weren't ready for, for what we experienced during the course of the program. And so there's a lot of thought that goes into that. But we do rely on kind of our guts from time to time in terms of making sure that we bring the right people. And honestly, as we look back at the previous cohorts and founders that have become great friends, for the most part, we've done a really good job. And these are people that now care about this industry deeply, care about the people that really make it run in terms of, practitioners, realtors, et cetera. And so we're proud of that group and how they've come together. But there is quite the process, as you can imagine, especially with each region kind of taking it down to call it 6 to 9 companies per year.
Has there been any that you have missed on and you're like, man, I wish we would have
actually it's funny, we had a conversation last night with a couple of founders. They asked the exact same question, and I'd say, yeah, there are a couple that maybe we missed out on, that maybe we were a bit late to get to, et cetera. But it's hard to kind of bemoan that factor, to feel sorry for ourselves, because we've hit so many that have been these, absolutely happy accidents for us. And so that's the business we're in. You're not going to hit them all, right? It's impossible. There's too much going on. There are too many variables. We feel incredibly lucky that we got the ones that we did, that have become real kind of foundational for what we do from a mission perspective.
Yeah, no, you definitely have had a lot of stars in there. So I know that we work with several of them even today. I think Tether most recently is one of the partners that we've worked with. And so we've certainly appreciated that partnership with Vanessa and Martin. 2 more questions really quick. What is some of the gaps that you guys help fill when you see a company? A lot of times you have a startup, you have someone who has a great idea, but they don't know it all. There's things that they're missing. What are some of the types of things that you see that these startup companies need help with or miss, that they either gained from, their fellow folks in the cohort or yourselves or others frequently? I don't know, Dave, if you want to go on that.
Yeah, I mean, it's a great question, Kyle, because every company is going to be at a different part in their journey, right? And what we're looking to be is value-added investors. I mean, look, our money is just as green as any other VC, but our differentiator is not only distribution, but it's what value can we bring to the table, whether that's knowledge, whether it's connectivity, whether it's assistance. And some companies, they're in the middle of a raise. They need capital to continue the evolution of their product or their distribution strategy. Other companies just don't know what they don't know. I mean, the industry, as you know, is a incredibly large and dynamic and ever evolving industry with a lot of key players, whether you're selling direct to brokerage, selling to teams, selling to enterprise. Every single one of those channels requires a completely different skill set, mindset, et cetera. And some companies just need that assistance. Other companies need talent and they just don't know where to get that respective talent. Other companies just need better information on go-to-market strategy. So we provide a buffet table of opportunities for companies that come into our Reach program. And what we ask of these companies and the entrepreneurs, and what we filter for, is the entrepreneurs that come hungry. We want the curious, hungry entrepreneurs that like to admit that they don't know everything, but they want to know everything. They want to digest it all. And really, from a lot of pattern recognition, we say, okay, you can't eat it all at once. Let's pick your poison. Pick what you want to go after first, and let us help you. Let us help you, hone that product message to, if you're selling to an agent, let's make sure that you truly understand that agent's pain. Let's introduce you to a number of folks where you can get that better understanding of how they're going to utilize your product or service. And that oftentimes is a big needle mover. I mean, it's rare where we see a company that comes into our program that doesn't pivot a couple of times, and that pivoting can become costly. And so what companies tell us after the fact is that we help them most with is we shave years off of that journey. And if you can save 2, 3, 4 years off of a founder's journey, that has monumental implications for not only the way that they feel and behave as leaders, but also for the economic value of their organization as they get closer to maturity and a potential exit.
Well, Kyle, I'd say now, considering how fast we can develop technology, shaving 2 or 3 months off the process is a game changer, right? And so Really, it's about adding efficiencies. And as Dave mentioned, we have companies across the spectrum, from actual startups that are just scratching the surface from a revenue perspective. We've had really big companies come through, people doing 100+ million top line, which is interesting. And that's why we kind of changed from being an accelerator to a scale up program, because we want to be inclusive of some of those other companies. But it really is different for every one of them. And it's funny, some of the most seasoned founders come in and it's basic stuff about the way you pitch, right? Being concise and those types of things. And some of the younger founders, it's more about deal structure, right? And how you structure a deal with a large brokerage or an association. Others, it's just like, they've bootstrapped and they're raising their first round. And, what do we need to do to prepare for that? So really, it's part of what I love is it's never the same. There are some prescriptive things that we do during the course of the program, but I think the magic is in the strategic plan that we try to execute with each individual company.
Yeah, I love that. I mean, a buffet approach and finding a good founder and basically identifying what they're looking for and provide the tools and help that you guys as longtime practitioners can help, or at least, lead them to the right place and connect them with the right folks. So those are all great practices for those in those cohorts. Last question. You guys work together. You're both, managing partners. How do you divide the work? How do you figure out who is pushing who's doing what? Like, tell me a little bit about how that works.
I'm going to take this because I benefit more from this partnership. I've had a number of great partners in my life. I've had some,
and this is where we
partners.
Disagree. We don't disagree about much. I disagree about this.
This has been the easiest partnership. Honestly, it's really natural for us. And in any good partnership, there's a shifting of who does what and how much someone does at a specific time, et cetera. But for Dave and I, it's been pretty easy from the get-go. We naturally know what our strengths are. I think we complement each other. Dave's good at a number of things that I'm not as good at, and so it's a very easy thing for us. And it might be shocking for people to hear. We don't sit down and game plan. You take this. You take this. If something needs to be done, one of us is jumping in. The way we present, we prefer to present together on stage or in podcasts because it is natural. And the fact is that between the two of us and actually our third part that not many people see, we kind of cover the bases necessary for what we think makes a great investment team. By the way, that extends to the broader team too. I think I'd feel bad if I didn't talk about the broader team. Every one of these regions has people in the region running those programs. It's impossible for Dave and I with 50 to 60 companies each year. So I think a number of the listeners will know, like Ashley Stinton, who runs the residential program in the US, who's an absolute rock star with her team as well. We have that type of talent in each of these regions, which makes our jobs a lot easier.
Awesome. Dave, do you want to give your side of the take?
Look, I would add that it's rare where you have partnerships that last, 5 years, 7 years. But I mean, Tyler and I have been partners with Mark for going on 10+ years now. And that really speaks to that nature of, you kind of know when it's very difficult to put on paper like the specific segmentation of tasks. But we agree on the broad strategy, and we all know like let's get stuff done. We've got our key goals and we've got our vision to build this community. I mean, and we're building something that's never been done before in the world for the benefit of the largest asset class in the world. And for that, it takes passion, it takes commitment, it takes camaraderie. And I mean, yeah, there's always struggles along the way, but I mean, we've handled it so well together. I'm grateful. It's been the greatest partnership I've ever had, in my business career, and I'm grateful for it. Not just for Tyler and Mark, but also for the overarching team. And you have to have that machine working and everybody kind of going in that same direction and moving toward that same vision. And we're super excited about the future, and we're very proud of our accomplishments to date.
Well, guys, really appreciate the conversation and looking forward to the next class. Thank you all.
Thanks, Kyle.
Thanks, Kyle.
Appreciate it.
Take care.
Thanks for tuning in to the PropTech Pulse podcast. Looking to take your real estate game to the next level? Check out our cutting edge tools. Visit lwolf.com to learn more and see how we can help you succeed. I'm your host, Kyle Hunter, and I'll catch you next time as we continue exploring the future of real estate together. Don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and stay connected. Until then, keep innovating and thriving in the world of real estate.